أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار وفلق التي تجري في البحر بما ينفع الناس وما أنزل الله من السماء من ماء فأحيا به الأرض بعد موتها وبث فيها من كل دابة وتصريف الرياح والسحاب المسخر بين السماء والأرض لآيات لقوم يعقلون. Chapter 2, verse number 146. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Respected viewers and listeners, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The verse which I have read is from Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 146. Allah says, Inna fi khalqis samawati wal ardi wa ikhtilaf al-layli wan nahari. Behold, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, in the alternation of the day and night. These 2 points started in the ayah, the first segment, talks about what? Heavens and the earth, the day and the night, meaning cosmic balance. وَفُلْقِ الَّتِي تَجْرِي فِي الْبَحْرِ بِمَا يَنْفَعُ النَّاسِ. In the oceans, the roaming of these ships, the law of buoyance, Archimedes' principles, where the mankind, they get nafa, profit, big freights, vessels, ships on the international waters. وَمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مِن مَّاءٍ فَأَحْيَا بِهِ الْأَرْضَ بَعْدَ مَوْتِهَا. Water system which Allah pours down from the heaven, which causes what? The dead earth comes back to life again. وَبَثَّ فِيهَا مِن كُلِّ دَابَّةٍ. And because of that, we do have animal kingdom, microorganisms to gigantic animals, dabbatin, walking creatures as well as anything. But prerequisite is that the water must come down from the heaven and make this earth back again to its original position, meaning live again. If there is no water, there is no earth, there is no animals. And this is the indication towards biodiversification, homeostasis in animal kingdom. Biodiversification and ecosystem. وَالتَّصْرِيفِ الرِّيَاحِ وَمُسَخَّرِ بَيْنَ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ. The moving of winds. And after that, these clouds are made slaves between heavens and the earth. لَآيَاتِ لِقَوْمٍ يَعْقِلُونَ. All these signs, the creation of the heavens and the earth, in the alternation of day and night, the big ships roaming around on the ocean, to which gives you benefit, the business, commerce, then pouring down rain, that this earth becomes live again, then scattering of all animal kingdom around the world, biodiversification, ecosystem, homeostasis. These scattered of animals, which causes people to go and live, like food chain. After having all these things, Allah says, imagine, think, these are the powerful message. That's why I'm dissecting each one of them. Creation of the heavens and the earth, alternation of day and night, galactical path, so sensitive, so sophisticated. If one small gravity starts pulling the planets toward itself, the sun, everything becomes disastrous. It loses its gravity, it repels away, it becomes dwarf planet. Cosmic balance, so sensitive. The earth does not catch the night, neither the night catches the earth. They are bound into some kind of slavery towards Allah. So Allah says that all these things, the animal kingdom, then the clouds, the wind, they move the clouds and then the clouds get stuck between the heaven and the earth. And all these signs are the people of intellect, wise people. إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار وفلق التي تجري في البحر بما ينفع الناس وما أنزل الله من السماء من ماء فأحيا به الأرض بعد موتها وبث فيها من كل دابة وتصريف الرياح والسحاب المسخر بين السماء والأرض لآيات لقوم يعقلون. Chapter 2, verse number 146. Today the topic is the scientific principles or scientific miracles in the Holy Quran. Holy Quran is not the book of science. It's the book of signs. Ayah, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ, among his signs, miracle in French, miracle. Every verse in the Holy Quran is a miracle, is a message. And I always correct some Muslims when they call Bible that these are ayah. They say in Arabic, ayah is very specific. It's only for Quran because every verse in the Quran is ayah and every ayah is a miracle indeed. Today I'm going to discuss the miracles in the Holy Quran, which only refrains towards science, pertaining to science. You see, we have the sickness of atheism, agnosticism, skepticism all over the world. And the only revealed book on the surface of the earth is no other than the Holy Quran. This book challenges its people. This book talks about every matter, social, political, economic system lumped up together. Scientific values. You want to call it science in today's era? Something you achieve by experimenting something. If it is a hypothesis, it takes time to become the universal law. Whatever Quran tells in this book, already standing on the universal law in scientific world, or yet to be discovered, or yet to be told to the world. But the fundamental principles are intact in this book. Remember that there is no prestige for this ummah without holding this book in the hands. We have lost this book. We have deserted this book in the all merits of our life, social life, political, economic life, and that is why we are simmering in our own soup. That is why we are being stampeded all over the world, because we let this book down. We made this Islam a spent force, and we are paying the price. As today's topic about science, I will not make some sidetracks. Let me go into the subject. Let us talk about something very important which was given to the Arabs in desert. أَفَلَا يَنْظُرُونَ إِلَى الْإِبِلِ كَيْفَ خُلِقَتْ وَإِلَى السَّمَاءِ كَيْفَ رُفِعَتْ وَإِلَى الْجِبَالِ كَيْفَ نُصِبَتْ وَإِلَى الْأَرْضِ كَيْفَ سُطِحَتْ فَذَكِّرْ إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مُذَكِّرْ لَسْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ بِمُسَيْطِرْ إِلَّا مَنْ تَوَلَّى وَكَفَرْ فَيُعَذِّبُهُ اللَّهُ الْعَذَابَ الْأَكْبَرَ إِنَّا إِلَيْنَا إِيَابَهُمْ ثُمَّ إِنَّا عَلَيْنَا حِسَابَهُمْ. Surah Al-Ghashiyah, chapter 88, last verses. Allah says, أَفَلَا يَنْظُرُونَ إِلَى الْإِبِلِ كَيْفَ خُلِقَتْ. Don't you see that how we have made these camels? وَإِلَى السَّمَاءِ كَيْفَ رُفِعَتْ. Don't you see how we have made these heavens, or heaven above you, the height? وَإِلَى الْجِبَالِ كَيْفَ نُصِبَتْ. Don't you see how we have made these mountains as pegs? So you can walk over it. It does not shake with you. Like nails in khayma, in tents, pegs. وَإِلَى الْأَرْضِ كَيْفَ سُطِحَتْ. Don't you see how we have scattered or make this earth as flat, or flattened the earth rather I say. فَذَكِّرْ إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مُذَكِّرٌ. O Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you are only here to remind these people, tadhkira, remind these all signs of Allah. So their mind may reflect these Bedouins as well as whole of the world. Sign. You are not over there to convince them. فَذَكِّرْ إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مُذَكِّرٌ لَسْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ بِمُسَيْطِرٍ إِلَّا مَنْ تَوَلَّى وَكَفَرَ. Either they accept or not. فَيُعَذِّبُ اللَّهُ الْعَذَابَ الْأَكْبَرَ. Then let them wait for the hellfire. You will not be questioned. Yes, we all Muslims will be questioned. Either we deliver the message or not. Nobody gonna sit at his back and do nothing for Islam. If you make Islam a spent force, be ready for the hellfire. Now what these points Allah is referring? Camel. You know what's camel? See the anatomy of the camel. For 7 days, without water, without food. It's like a king in the desert, or a ship in the desert, or Mercedes or Rolls Royce in the desert. Wasama. Look at this earth. Sorry, this heaven. How far this heaven is. The nearest heaven, Allah says, we have decorated with lamps in Surah Al-Mulk, chapter 16, verse number 5. Wherever you see above you, in Arabic, sama means something above you. Wherever you see these lights of stars and quasars, within our own Milky Way or beyond that, all these stars are lamps decorated in the lowest heaven, and we have 7 heavens. Imagine that. Whatsoever time and space, 3-dimensional space you are seeing with your eyes, all those stars are to be found in the nearest heaven according to Islamic eschatology. Then Allah says, don't you see these mountains? How would Prophet ﷺ know about these mountains and all this, geological knowledge, geology, that the mountains are pegged down the way they are up, so it stops shaking of the earth, tremors. How would Prophet ﷺ know all these things? Anomalies, the functions of scientific earthly values, because it was a revelation of God. O atheists, or agnostics. Then Allah says, tell them, O Arabs, see, can't you see how we have made this earth flat and you walk on it? This is the sign. Allah says, think about it, contemplate. Oh Muhammad, you just tell them. All these values, they must know, they ought to know. There is no excuse for that. Every human who is born, he ought to know these things in front of you. Allah says, Sunurihim, and surely we will show our signs to these our people in front of them, in the horizon, and within their own selves, and their heart will testify that this is Al-Haq. Quran is Al-Haq. We will show the signs. Your own body is the sign, the biggest sign that you are here. In Surah Fussilat, second last verse, by the way. And this was Surah Al-Ghashiyah, chapter 88, last verses. Our own body, our own anatomy. Go and study about our own anatomy. You will be baffled, flabbergasted. Allah created us those in a so sophisticated manner. Ahsani taqweem, the best of the formation. And we are fighting one another. The nails, the atomic cellular data in our body, organs, tissues. See how they are made. Cells, each cell, what the function of that tiny cell, the anatomy, the dynamics. Allah has created us. And compare yourself with chimpanzees or gorillas. They are just more glorified. Nothing else. the minute difference of chromosomes in chimpanzees, which causes us become so much intelligent. And this is Allah's creation. He has created us. It is Allah who has created us and given us the test. الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. The purpose of your creation is only that Allah will check you that who has done good deeds or bad deeds according to Him. And the purpose of life and death is only this. And Allah will ask us. From Adam alayhi salam to the last person, what did you do for Allah and His Rasul? Did you implement the social justice or not? These questions will be asked. And that is why, to convince these kind of people, atheistic people, scientific people, the people of wisdom, Allah says, يَعْقِلُونَ, the wise people, intellectual people, intelligentsia of the country. Allah is addressing them now. Okay, you do not believe in the revelation, then pay attention to these verses. Pay attention. All these scientific verses in the Quran, pay attention and bring a rational explanation if you try to reject it. Now, I'm going to give you more verses to open the eyes, inshallah. May Allah open the eyes of these scientific people, doubtful people, skeptics people, agnostics people, to see that this is the only book which reasons the people, and the reason is only because Allah knew and knows that there will be people who will not be convinced just for divine revelation. They need something which is connected to three-dimensional space. So if we read Surah Al-Mu'minun, chapter 23, verse number 12, 13, about embryology, Dr. Keith Moore was inspired by these values. You see, Allah gave a pattern. Thumma, next. First, the sperms of a man gets into the right fixation where the impregnation starts. Allah says the first step then becomes to alaqah, a blood clot substance, where the cardiovascular activity starts, cardiac activity starts. Then that alaqa turns into mudgha. It's a substance like a leech substance. If you see the pictures in embryology. Then thumma. Thumma means like the steps cannot go back and forth. Precisely mentioned, succinctly mentioned, tersely mentioned, and ambiguously mentioned. No other book talks like that. As certain, in certainty, in challenging way, in confidence. Or rather, I say safely, impetuously, because Allah is Allah. He's the creator. And creator does not get shy about his creation. So he says, and then that substance, leech substance covered with bones, izama, fatabarakallahu ahsanul khaliqin, glory be to God, best to create. Surah Al-Mu'minun. Now, tell me, can anybody be more emphatic, uncompromising, tersely than these statements? Thumma. Then Surah Al-Hajj, chapter 22. Allah mentions that 3 dark stages every impregnation goes on. 3 dark stages. 3 trimesters. 9 months gestation period. And all these details, if you see step by step, you cannot reject it. Who have told these values to Prophet Muhammad in Arabia in 600 AD? Fine, people say there were Greek knowledge, Grecian knowledge. Fine. I say detailed and specific details which still not contradicted yet. What kind of scientist Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was? As you know, he was not. Whatever he was given to him is revealed knowledge, not acquired knowledge. This is embryology. Stand to reason. How Allah created everything. Then, about the bees and the sex. Surah An-Nahl, chapter 16, verse number 90 onward, Allah says, then we inspired the female bee. Vasluki, kuli, vasluki. These are female pronouns like possess, so you can say possessive or you want to say subjective or objective, but female gender. She, her, herself. So Allah said, Kuli wasluki, and Allah inspired the bee to go to the mountains and collect these flowers, all that stuff, and then their bellies produces honey out. And for this honey, fihi shifa'u linnas, for the whole of the mankind, there is shifa from the bellies, from the honey of these, from these bellies of the honey. Now tell me, who could have told Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that this is the queen bee, not the king bee? In 1980s, before the cameras, the microscopic or whatever, the deep cameras, I say, they discovered first time it's not the king bee. Before they say king bee, 1400 years ago, Quran says female bee. I say stand to reason. Surah An-Naba, chapter 78, verse number 6 and 7, Allah says that we have created mountains at pegs and earth has bed, lest it does not shake with you. Science tells us that the way the earth is rotating and all that stuff, and there are tremors under the core, mantle, inner core, outer core, we can't even walk with this kind of earth. But due to the nails of these mountains, the way they act like icebergs, we are walking on this earth. I say, stand to reason, who could have told Prophet Muhammad ﷺ all these things? Then Allah says in chapter 21, Surah Al-Anbiya, verse number 30, أَوَلَمْ يَرَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ كَانَتَ رَتْقًا فَوَتَّقْنَاهُمَا وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. Why these disbelievers or rejecter of Allah? Don't they see that we have created this heavens and the earth by joining them together? فَوَتَّقْنَاهُمَا, and split them asunder like the Big Bang or the spring reaction. وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ, and every living thing we have originated from water. Every living thing we have originated from water. I say, stand to reason, how could Prophet ﷺ know all these things? And one verse ahead after that, كُلُّ فَلَقٍ فِي يَسْبَحُونَ, all these planets are swimming in the orbit. Yasbahun means swimming, floating, not revolving. This is what Einstein said first time. The planets are actually, they are floating, they are swimming in a dark matter or something, energy, gravity, which you cannot see because of the star. This is Surah Al-Anbiya, chapter 21, verse number 30 to 36. The depth of this whole universe. فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِمَوَاقِعِ النُّجُومِ وَإِنَّهُ لَقَسَمٌ لَوْ تَعْلَمُونَ عَظِيمٌ إِنَّهُ لَقُرْآنٌ كَرِيمٌ فِي كِتَابٍ مَكْنُونٍ لَا يَمَسُّهُ إِلَّا الْمُطَهَّرُونَ تَنزِيلٌ مِّن رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. First, understand the universe. Surah Al-Mulk, chapter 67, verse number 5. Allah says, the nearest heaven we have decorated with stars, the lamps. So wherever you see all over you is the nearest heaven. Where is the second? Where is the third? Where is the fourth? We don't know. We cannot see. We cannot cross. There is a barrier. And everything you see, it's in one heaven. The lamps, wherever you see the Hubble telescope, James Webb telescope, the picture of deep space or deep field, you see there are some lights far away, the grains of sand, like trillions, 2 trillions. 2 trillion galaxies we have mapped, and all these are under one heaven. The nearest heaven, Allah says, we have decorated with lamps. And then Allah says, فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِمَوَاقِعِ النُّجُومِ وَإِنَّهُ لَقَسَمٌ لَوْ تَعْلَمُونَ عَظِيمٌ. By the setting of the star, I am taking this oath, and indeed it is the mighty oath. Why this is the mighty oath? You know why? Because when the star sets, it becomes a big vacuum of black hole, and the black hole is the biggest thing in the universe we have. When the star goes down, 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 it becomes like dwarf, and then the energy is so inside, and then it gets blasted. And then when it gets blasted, this is what happens. It becomes and changes into another black hole, supernova, setting of star. And what is the radius and diameter of this known universe? We know from our own Milky Way, 27,000 light years. Light travels in 1 year 9,500,000,000,000 kilometers over the speed of 295,000 kilometers per second or miles per second or 300,000 whatsoever. But averagely, roughly 9,500,000,000,000 kilometer light travels in 1 year, and 27,000 light years we have the distance between the center. And 165 billion light years of radius of the entire universe we have mapped. And Allah says the mighty oath that this is Al-Quran and we have revealed this book. Now, how would Prophet ﷺ know the setting of the star? Then Surah Tariq, chapter 96, chapter 86. وَالسَّمَاءِ وَالطَّارِقِ وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الطَّارِقُ نَجْمُ الثَّاقِبِ. What is Tariq? Above you in the heavens. وَالسَّمَاءِ وَالطَّارِقِ. And this Tariq is a kind of a blast or a piercing star. Najmu thaqib, tabak. And this is what another sign of supernova. When the star is going to go down, they do these kind of actions. How would Prophet ﷺ know all these things? Then we see about the oceans, the depth of the oceans. What's the deepest point in the whole world? We call it Mariana Trench, 30,000 or 33,000 feet. If you put upside down Burj Khalifa, if you put upside down the Mount Everest, it still keeps going down. And this thing Allah is mentioning about the depth where you can't see, more than that. Deep Challenger, which James Cameron did it, the last depth where you reach it. What Allah says in Surah Nur, chapter 24, verse number 30 onwards and 40. Chapter 24, verse number 40, Surah Nur. The example of a disbeliever is that there is waves, then there is waves, and then there are clouds. And on the third wave, if he stretches out his hand, he cannot even see it. How prophets have knew this? You can't even dive deeper than 100 meters down on those days. Without those pressurized suit, the nitrogen rises up, the bubbles you will burst out inside, implode. You cannot go down. The more you go down without these stuff to protect you, you will be imploded like 1,000 elephants stepping on you. Too much square inch pressure. All over the gravity squeezing you down in the center. And Allah says that if the man stretches out the hand, he cannot see anything, meaning there is no light. And that depth nobody knew before, because humanity didn't dive down into that depth to know that there is no light or lack of light. And you cannot see anything. That comes after way deep down, 700 meters or 800 meters, Hazal zone. And how Prophet knew all these things? Tell me the scientific, these people. Whereas when this was revealed, the verse was revealed, those Arabs were not deep divers or swimmers, only for fishing, and that is very few, like 60, 70 meter maximum. So how Prophet ﷺ knew all these things? This is the ayah. Then, same verse, Surah Nur, chapter 24, verse number 35, 40, 45 onwards, in the context, Allah talks about the wind takes the clouds, and the clouds, they merge together. And when they merge together, condensation happens, then precipitation happens. And these clouds have weight. Allah says in the Quran, and these clouds have the weight of tons. And before that, the science, the people, normal people, they believe, and even science too, that the clouds are lightly made. That's why they're traveling, easily moving over the sky. But it's not true. Actually, they are very heavy. tons of water they are carrying. Condensation happens, and they are very heavy, dense. How Prophet ﷺ knew all these things if he is the author of this book? And then the rains pour down. The whole of this water cycle, it moves around, and another thing, the water cycle. And then you know what happens, I mentioned in the previous verse, that this earth, the dead things come back again because of this water cycle. If there's no wind to carry these clouds, the heavy clouds, there is no precipitation. There is no precipitation, there is no humanity, no living life, there are no bees, humanity dies in 4 years, no pollination, no trees, nothing. Then Allah mentions in the Quran about the creation of trees. You know how important these trees are? There is no planet other than Earth in our solar system, in our known Milky Way, we don't know, but in our own solar system, not a single planet produces trees, wood. Wood is actually more precious than diamonds. But we stupid people don't know. We don't care. We don't ponder in the creation of the heavens and the earth. It's more important. And each leaf has its own world, photosynthesis, taking all carbon dioxide, emitting oxygen for us to breathe. We have system in biology, producers, consumers, decomposers. These plants, they produce from solar energy, suns, and taking things, changing into carbohydrates, molecules. And then these carbs are taken through photosynthesis. Each leaf is a world in the vein. And after that is going down, then we have vegetation, vegetable life. You eat it, those carbs and this meat, the animals, they graze it, you eat it. And then they excrete, those fecal excrement becomes what? Decomposing. We consume, they decompose, and then it goes back again to production. This is the cycle, subhanallah. Allah is saying, pay attention. We have created trees and you don't pay attention. We have created these flowers and the bees and the honey. You pay no attention. This is what Allah says in the Quran about all these veracities. Then if we read Surah Al-An'am, chapter 6, verse 120 onwards, the Japanese scientist became Muslim. Allah says the example of a disbeliever is that he is climbing towards the mountain and his chest getting constricted. Now we came to know that if you go up to the highest point or above, way above sea level, the oxygen atoms, they get constricted and our lungs try to breathe hardly and we get suffocated. This is the natural mechanism. The people who live in the mountainous ranges or mountains, their lungs have more air capacity as compared to ours generally, or the deep divers. That's why they are able to hold their breath. But generally, the philosophy, the point, the more you go up, your chest becomes constricted and you cannot live and breathe unless you have pressurized suit, like the NASA, they wear it, or you're flying in the airplane, your ear gets clogged, the pressure changes. You know, our ear, we have a system in our ears, middle ear, and the middle ear, the inner ear, you start getting disturbed, an eustachian tube, it gets, constricted, and then your pressure does not stabilize, and then you get dizzy, or sometimes because the ear controls the spatial movement, other than eyes. And then you start feeling headache because your ear pressure is not getting open. And this is what Allah says. This Japanese scientist, when he heard this verse, how could Prophet ﷺ know all these things? The highest mountains in Mecca does not give you this effect. These mountains are like, for example, K2, Mount Everest, where you climb so high, your chest becoming constricted, shorter and shorter, hard to breathe. How come Prophet ﷺ knew all these things in the Quran? Tell us, atheists, agnostics. Allah challenges in this book, bring something like of this book. Bring something like of this book. Then the cosmic balance, Surah Rahman, chapter 55, verse number in the beginning, 5-6. وَالسَّمَاءَ رَفَعَهَا وَوَضَعَ الْمِيزَانَ. And we have made this entire universe into the cosmic balance, mizan, scale, balance. This is what Science tells us, NASA, everything is too much complicated in calculation, in numbers. If sun loses the gravity, Earth will be drifted away. It becomes cold planet and dwarf planet. If Earth gets closer to sun, you know what will happen. Everybody knows that. If the sun gravity gets stronger, Earth gravity gets stronger, it will suck the moon into it. If the Earth's rotation speed is little bit higher than the current speed, what will happen? Everything, storms, thunderstorms, everything will become like chaotic. And if the Earth loses its spin, sun, the daytime will be longer, nighttime will be disturbed, all the animal kingdom, plantation, plants and vegetable kingdom will die. Can you believe Allah says everything is holding in the cosmic balance? And this is in Surah Rahman, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. And then Allah says, for what of the favors we are giving you, you will deny. Count them. And this is one of it. Anyways, there are so many verses in the Holy Quran, but everything has to end. I cannot keep going on endlessly. Inshallah, in the next video, I will bring more verses from the Holy Quran, which deals with the science to open the eyes of our atheists and agnostic people or brothers or fellows. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen.